Why does evil exist, and why does God allow it? Part 1. This video explains God's part in the existence of evil versus the agents that are human or angelic, and their part in the carrying out of an actual act of evil or harm. It will talk about the 4 ways God allows evil without directly causing it, as well as the 4 types of evil, and the ultimate reason God allows evil to exist for now, until all things are restored to the pre-sin era that Adam and Eve had before sin entered the world. Let's talk about theodicy. Theodicy, the vindication of divine goodness and providence in view of the existence of evil. Providence equals the protective care of God over man and nature as a spiritual power. Providence is the subset of God's sovereignty, which is where God is ruler, controller, and sustainer of all creation. Also, providence is how God arranges things to come together or disconnect in order to achieve His sovereignty. Romans 11:33 tells us we can't fully understand God's providence when it says, "Oh, what a wonderful God we have. How great are His wisdom and knowledge and riches. How impossible it is for us to understand His decisions and His methods." Luck, as we call it, does not exist with a sovereign God. What we call luck is actually part of God's providence. Joseph was in a coat of many colors one day and in a pit the next. He had a good job one day and was falsely accused of rape the next. He was in prison one day and forgotten about, and then remembered the next day. We would falsely say he had good luck one day and bad luck the next. But in reality, it was all in God's providence. Joseph said to his brothers in Genesis 50:19-20 that he wasn't God and that God allowed everything to happen to him for the ultimate good and to save many lives. Paraphrase. He understood God's providence. We need to see life as it really is, through the lens of God's sovereignty and providence, which eliminates luck. God is involved in everything and upholds all things. God doesn't force everything that happens, nor does He violate natural law, nor the will of His created beings, i.e. man or angels. God's providential will orders everything, and yet He doesn't cause everything. James 1:13, God doesn't tempt anyone. Numbers 23:19, God does not lie. There are 3 causalities at work in the world. 1. The ultimate or primary causality. Providentially, He governs all things for His purpose. He gave us the ability and the circumstances to make evil and sin possible. However, God is released from responsibility because He doesn't make them do it. 2. The proximate cause equals the agent, human or otherwise, angelic, that influences, directs, or enables an action. 3. The efficient cause equals the agent, human or otherwise, that actually carries out the action or sin. In 1 Kings 22, God uses 400 false prophets to lie to King Ahab, who was a liar that tried to leverage God for personal gain. To take Ahab down, God used 400 false prophets to lie to Ahab and to make him believe he could have victory in an upcoming battle. God used spirit beings as the proximate cause to enable and influence the prophets. The 400 prophets are the efficient cause that carried out the action. 4 ways God allows evil without being guilty of causing it directly. 1. Divine abandonment, or His passive wrath. In Exodus 18:15 and verse 32, Pharaoh hardened his heart, which causes God to withdraw His grace and/or mercy. 1 Timothy 4:1-2 says men will depart the faith and follow deceiving spirits and demons, thereby searing their consciences. Joshua 11:20. For it was the purpose of the Lord to harden their hearts, to meet Israel in battle so that Israel would utterly destroy them, that they would receive no mercy, but that Israel would destroy them, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. Romans 1:24-26. So God let them go ahead into every sort of sex sin, and do whatever they wanted to. Yes, vile and sinful things with each other's bodies. Instead of believing what they knew was the truth about God, they deliberately chose to believe lies. So they prayed to the things God made, but wouldn't obey the blessed God who made these things. That is why God let go of them and let them do all these evil things, so that even their women turned against God's natural plan for them and indulged in sex sin with each other. 2. Evil people or personal agency where people do their own will and are not open to God's will and to correction. 3. Evil spirits. Isaiah 19:3. The Egyptians will lose heart, and I will confuse their plans. They will plead with their idols for wisdom and call on spirits, mediums, and those who consult the spirits of the dead. Luke 11:26. Then the spirit finds 7 other spirits more evil than itself, and they all enter the person and live there, and so that person is worse off than before. Ephesians 6:12. For we are not fighting against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world, against mighty powers in this dark world, and against evil spirits in the heavenly places. 4. General means, a non-stated, proximate, or efficient cause by personal agency. Sometimes God uses evil people to bring about good or to glorify himself. You probably had children knowing they would sin. Are you responsible for their sin? No! You did not commit the actual act of sin. You were the primary cause by bringing the child into the world. Then there was a proximate cause to enable the sin. Then your child was the efficient cause that actually committed the sin. Another example is you bake a chocolate cake and leave it on the counter. Johnny comes in and eats a bite out of it. Are you responsible? No. You are the primary cause because you made the cake, and also the proximate cause because you put it on the counter, which enabled the sin to occur. However, Johnny is the efficient cause because he ate some of the cake and committed the actual sin. In the final part to answer the ultimate question, we will talk about 3 subjects in order to complete the answer to our main question. The first subject we will discuss is evil and the 4 different types of evil. The second subject will be the fact that God exists and that God is sovereign. The last subject will be that God actually wills evil to exist for his ultimate purpose and providence. For our first subject, we find there are several ways to break down evil. Let's talk first about natural evil or calamity, or that which is dangerous, destructive, or deadly. Just like decay and death, there is a natural evil in the world. Anyone would be a fool to deny that. It is not a personal issue, but it is a part of creation itself and its fallen condition. It is impersonal and it is external to us. It is temporal, like diseases, disasters, catastrophes, tidal waves, tiny bacteria, viruses, volcanic eruptions, etc. This planet can be a very dangerous place to live. In Romans 8:19-22, it says that the whole creation groans to be restored to its original state. There is secondly moral evil. Moral evil is personal, internal, and spiritual. It is seen in things like wickedness, sin, and transgressions. This kind of evil dominates the whole human race and is very pervasive. It is in every single human heart and is a dominating and controlling force. Romans 3:12 and Genesis 6:5 tell us that there's not one who's good, no, not one. All the thoughts of the heart are only evil continually. Man is driven by lust and by selfishness that produces sin and death. The world is itself under a curse, which makes natural evil present everywhere. We are really all a bunch of immoral sinners trying to survive in a fallen world, where we collide with each other in malfunctioning marriages, families, friendships, and rivalries that eventually end in wars. These are the things that are manifest evidence of the existence of moral evil in the world. Thirdly, there is supernatural evil. There is a force of demonic beings that are as old as their creation, and were there at the time of creation of everything that was made. There are evil spirits, and they are liars and deceivers. 1 John 5:19 says, "The whole world lies in the power of the evil one." Revelation 12 tells us that a third of the angels fell out of heaven, and they constitute the force of demons that exist. They develop their ideologies and the fortresses that become the strongholds in people's lives. 2 Corinthians 10:3-5 tells us, For though we walk in the world, we do not fight according to this world's rules of warfare. The weapons of the war we're fighting are not of this world, but are powered by God, and effective at tearing down the strongholds erected against His truth. We are demolishing arguments and ideas, every high and mighty philosophy that pits itself against the knowledge of the one true God. We are taking prisoners of every thought, every emotion, and subduing them into obedience to the Anointed One. Voice version. They infect our lives as we learn in the book of Job. We can learn lessons from Job, Peter, and Paul, who was given a messenger of Satan to buffet him. The demonic forces have a delegated sovereignty in the world. You need to understand that Satan is the prince of the power of the air, as stated in Ephesians 2 verse 2. We do not wrestle against what? Flesh and blood, but rather against principalities and powers. There is a structure and an order in the demonic world. See Part 2, video to continue.